Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Will behind the camera, and I appreciate that you're here with me today. So I'm still at Pretoria North, Chery. I'm here for the Tiggo8 Pro, and this is the second video on it. I've already done a walk around in silence, in like I wasn't even saying a word. So now I'm back with a verbal review where I'm just going to be telling you my opinion, because in the previous video I didn't even give like much in terms of what I think about the car, everything else surrounding it. So this is where then I come in. Otherwise, since I uploaded that video, I caught some smoke, from people saying the format and all those things. But guys, we've been at this thing. I mean, we've done this for so long and we've been together for so long now. But where's that peace? Like, you guys, let's leave that one for now and focus on this. So I'm just going to be doing the POV drive as I usually do, and then we're going to talk about the car. And I don't necessarily just focus on the drive itself, but my overall experience whenever I bring you like reviews and so on. So yeah, let's just connect, finalize whatever we're doing, and then be on the way. So I don't just do like I'm driving and this is just what I'm feeling as I'm driving. I'm going to talk about overall, my opinion overall, because I didn't even give you my overall opinion when I uploaded the walk around video. I just did like features and so on. So now we're going to talk about this car as a whole, and I have to start, let me not start outside. Let's reserve that for later. I'll tell you about it later. I want to talk about inside because we're already in here now as we're driving, and the one thing that obviously gets you into the car and feeling whether it's premium or not is immediately you get in, you're probably going to touch the door panels and then you're going to go to the steering wheel once you sit down, right? So I will start by complaining because the door panels, they could have done something to make them more premium than what they are. Don't get me wrong, the design is still amazing, but the door panels on top, they're quite hard, and that's the thing that for me I feel like it's a little bit of an off. It's not off for the price point, by the way, but for the design package as a whole, what you're getting already, you're expecting much more from it. And when I'm looking at the fact that this is like, it has a branded sound system from Sony, and the only thing that you're seeing that it's a Sony sound system, unless if I miss something, it's these tweeter speakers that are in front of us right here, where you see that they are at least like premium. They have this metallic looking thing and piano black on the side. But when you're looking at the door panels, they're not branded, they are plastic. It looks like, in fact, it's a hard plastic. It looks like it's just a normal panel. Looking at how not normal this car is, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. So basically this door panel, it looks amazing in the middle where they covered it with the tan leather and so on and everything. Where you put your armrest, it's amazing, but everything else, it's quite like hard materials that are used, but it almost ends there, because inside this car now, wow, this, I mean, if it was 800,000, I wouldn't say much, but this is less than 550,000, and we have to talk about that. I mean, the clarity of the screens in front of us, whether the instrument cluster, whether the screen, the infotainment screen, or the aircon screen that is here, the actual layout of this dash is just so amazing. Looking at this metallic bit from the handles, the door handles that you're using to open now, coming in to bring that metallic, looking at the steering wheel, the way it's covered a bit with this metal looking thing, then it crosses over to this aircon vents. Then you look at the piano like buttons that are here, crossing, like the way it's integrated in the line, crossing over to the other side. Man, the attention to detail in here is just so amazing, and it makes you to just appreciate this car more. Another thing that for sure is that we've been seeing a lot of technology in cars generally over the past 3-4 years or so. And when it comes to cars from China, they've been showing us that, they can pack up tech and at a very reasonable price. That's one thing about this car as well, that when I'm looking at it in a way that they're offering it, all the way from distinctive model, actually, you get a lot of tech for the car. The difference between this one and that one, I'll just show you a clip of the one that I took from the distinctive. Actually, like, the ambient lighting is there as well. It's here as well, but as I'm driving, it's not as clear because then now they're like it's too bright and so on. But otherwise, they're not that much different. It's just the two-tone, the nice to haves, the panoramic sunroof. There is an additional aircon vent and additional driving aids and so on. But visually, like exterior-wise, they're almost the same. Everything else, the cameras, 360-degree cameras, they're like everything is the same. And talking about that, this is one of the best camera systems that we have in the market. I've seen one as crisp as this at this price point from Aval. I've even some expensive ones are not as clear and as advanced as the one in this car actually. And that's the thing that I think, wow, they're just getting this small things right that we used to get them as extras, that they're just giving you to them at a very reasonable price. And that's the thing that makes them to win a lot of customers, because we are not used to this. Honestly, we are just not. We are just not. Talking about the driving aids though, this car has like plenty of driving aids, especially when you come to the executive variant, because there's quite a lot of things that it can do, like lane departure warning, blind spot detection, like front collision warning. Like there's quite a number of things. I'm just trying to think right now, like brakes override system, traffic sign recognition is there as well, rear traffic alert. I mean, it's not something you get every day, like cross traffic alert at the back. It's not every time that you get that. And in this spec, amazingly as well, you still get that high beam assist that helps you not to dazzle other drivers and so on and so on. When you open the door, it has this door warning system in case there's a car that is coming from behind, so that you do not find yourself opening the door and someone just crashes into your door and passes with it. That's another thing that I think when it comes to tech, it's so packed. There's so many things that are standard in here actually, even at distinctive model. So another interesting thing, of course, will be the cruise control in here, but it's only in the executive model that you get the adaptive cruise control, and I just want to show you, of course, how it works. So I'm going to demonstrate it in traffic, because that's where I find it to be more helpful, like adaptive cruise control. And when you have it, you go into rest, but you need to be very careful. I always say this whenever I'm testing this like advanced driving aids and stuff that are coming with these new cars, that you need to be very careful of it. Like if you're not necessarily used to it or sure about it, don't even like do it if it's your first time, because it might cause trouble. I'm also panicking a bit because I just need to put my foot like closer to the brake as possible, as it is like decelerating and accelerating and so on, just so that I can be sure. But you can see that the car now is mainly on cruise, as low speed that we are doing right now is reading the speed that is in front of the car, like the one in front of us. And this one, if you look at the settings that I did on the walk around, you'll see that you can be able to set it to say that how many meters do you want the car in front of you to be. Then you can be comfortable so that you do not find yourself too close and so on. So you can see that the car is actually just decelerating. If you look at my feet down there, you'll see that I'm not necessarily on the pedals whatsoever. And somehow it's like it's panicking a bit. I don't know if it's trying to tell me that it's panicking, or I don't know what's happening when it's doing the hazards, because of the adaptive cruise control now is activating and it's going all the way down to like 0 or whatever the car in front of you is, that is a low speed, and now it's just taking the speed back up without like trouble whatsoever. But you can see I'm panicking a bit, so be careful as well, because it's not something that you should do if you're not necessarily used to it. Let's talk about how it drives now. And we're going to talk about this engine just now. You see, as you are pulling it, you start feeling that, okay, you know what, maybe I read the numbers wrong, because, when I was looking at the torque, especially, the power I was okay with, because it's a 1.6 turbo, 145 kilowatts, and 290 Newton meters of torque, right? When I was looking at the torque, I was like, maybe it's gonna catch speed like at a later stage and then keeps going. But to my surprise, once you put your foot down, especially when you start accelerating on the highway and so on, you get some level of confidence. You know, I always talk about confidence when it comes to the engine performance, because I believe that's what you need. You need to be at least sure that, am I going to overtake this one, and am I going to take it now, or should I wait for this car that is coming behind me? And that's something that at least I can commend them on that. And I have a little bit of reservation when it comes to that, because it feels like when this car is going to be like packed full with bags and people, and probably 7 people, because it can carry as much, it might not necessarily be as punchy as it feels right now. Because what I'm feeling is, if you're trying to pull it hard, like especially if you're moving from a stop and trying to move as hard as possible, you know, midway to 100, at around 60 going to 100, you start feeling a little bit sorry for it, because you're like, yeah, you know, it's like I'm hating it a bit. It's like it's starting to scream a bit, but it settles down as you go up. Then you realize that actually the power is sufficient to actually move this big body that this car is actually. Maybe I'm just feeling sorry for it because it's a new car, and you know what they say, like the pipes are not yet open. But otherwise, it feels like that. It feels a little bit like it's saying you're hitting me a bit, but otherwise, it's not a lazy car whatsoever. Especially like when you're trying to move, or you're already moving and you're trying to overtake and pass cars around you and so on. I find it to give you like that confidence to say you can go, you can keep going and so on. And another thing that I can commend them on actually is the road noise. It's quite minimal. I think it's owing to the tires that are here, because they are like 18-inch and 55, like the profile, they are quite big, so it's helping a lot in insulating that. And I have to say, when it comes to the vibrations, like this car feels solid. I don't want to lie. That's the part that I would commend them on. It feels so solid, and I think it owes to the insulation that they made on this car. I mean, if you look at the engine bay of this car, it's like, at this price point, it's one of the best looking engine covers that I've seen at this price point actually. So owing to that, I think the insulation, and it works so well. It helps this car not to feel like it's shaking or it's vibrating whatsoever. The steering wheel feels solid. Everything feels like it's well laid out, and it's not feeling like it's gonna fall off anytime soon whatsoever. One thing I can complain about is the wind noise in here. I feel like it owes to the aerodynamics of the car and so on. If you looked at my review for the Mercedes GLB, you would realize that I'm saying the same thing, because this car, especially compared to the Tiggo, I felt like the Tiggo is much more well insulated when it comes to the wind noise compared to this. And this one, the design, looking at the little sister Tiggo, is this Tiggo 4 rather. This one is a little bit more boxy, and that is always going to create a little bit of wind noise. And that means as well, it affects how you take other sounds that are coming from inside. Let's say the sound system, it's not going to feel as powerful. But luckily, this Sony sound system, I have to talk about it now, because I enjoyed this sound system. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but I enjoyed it so much. If you look at the video that I've done when I did the walk around, I did the sound system test. On the video, it might not come out clearly, but wow, I really enjoyed this sound system. The balance and so on is not the best thing out there, but it has a great balance. Okay, back to the driving now. I think one thing that, again, they did so well, the 7-speed DCT in here, I can't complain much, because I find it to be well mated to this engine. It's smooth. It's helping this engine actually, because this engine, like a 1.6 liter, I think if it was a 2 liter, I would say the engine is contributing more, but now I think the transmission is helping it a lot in terms of making sure that it doesn't feel like it's so lazy and so on whatsoever. When it comes to driving modes, like, I'm not necessarily feeling that much difference, but I can see that whenever it's on sport mode and you're trying to pull it, you know, it's holding the gas a little bit longer to show you that, you know what, you need to keep going. And that's the part that I'm feeling, the transmission. But in terms of the steering wheel, suspension whatsoever, I'm not necessarily feeling that much difference. Maybe because I didn't drive it for so long, and there is much more happening that I didn't necessarily feel. But we just came from town, right? So the town driving, that's where at least you'll feel the suspension and all those, those little creaky noises that are happening around the car. And I have to say, overall, I was impressed. For a 7-seater, I need to specifically say that, because when it comes to a 7-seater and you're driving in bumpy roads, like, there is something that you always feel, especially at the back there, it's like a lot of them are leaving like plastics and hard materials at the back that are just creating this, like, whenever you're passing, let's say you're passing a speed hump and you feel the whatever is happening at the back, that, okay, it seems like there's no quality back there. I have to commend them for that, because in this one, for a 7-seater, it still has a little bit of that, when I'm comparing it to, like, for example, the Tiggo8 Pro, which is like a little car, like, compared to this one, you can feel that it's not as long and it can absorb like all those little sounds and noises that are happening because of a bumpy road properly. But in this one, I don't get the same comfort. It's not bad. I don't know how to put it. When I'm looking at a size 6 sneaker and a size 9, they're both quality. You can see that they're both quality. But that size 9, it's like a little bit loose, compared to the smaller one. So that's the kind of a thing that I'm trying to explain. When it comes to that, it is like it drives well. The steering wheel, you can easily point it and it goes. You can turn this car around easily, especially with the camera system that is helping you. I'm not thinking it's going to make you struggle in town whatsoever. It's just that it's a big car and you can't absorb everything. Like, when it comes to suspension and when it comes to a big car, I think it's not easy to do that. And they've done a great job. For a 7-seater, they've done a great job. You will, like, I've driven 7-seaters and I know how it feels at the back. It's not the only one that will just feel like it's not as solid at the back, but that's because it's a long car. And one thing though, I can't forget that I have to talk in relation to the price, and I'm easily going to forgive it for that because of what they're asking from you, of course. Overall though, in terms of driving dynamics, I think I'll give it, like, if I was to say good, bad, great, whatever, I'll put it somewhere between good and great, because they've done so much work. For a 7-seater, they've done so much work and it feels so solid. Like, if you're going to be taking it on long trips with your family and so on, there's so much good that can come out of that trip. I don't think you're going to be bored. In many ways, I don't think you're going to be bored. So they've done a great job when it comes to driving. Talking about family though, family is very important, and this car can take your whole family at once. So you're definitely going to be concerned about safety and trying to understand if your family is safe and so on. So I couldn't find like NCAP rating for this particular Tiggo8 Pro, but I found one for Tiggo8 that was done, and it was a 5-star CNCAP. So I think if they are based on the same platform, it can easily reach 5 stars. I'm not going to say it's a 5-star, but if they're based on the same platform, because this is like a premium version of the Tiggo8, not the Tiggo8 Pro. We don't have the Tiggo8 in the country. We're only getting this Tiggo8 Pro currently. So if they're based on the same platform and design features inside and so on, I think it might reach 5 stars. I'm not sure though, because it hasn't been done. Otherwise, when it comes to the airbags, it has 6. I saw that it has curtain airbags. So for that one, at least you'd be at ease. Looking at the driving aids as well, I think it is packed. I've already told you about the driving aids when it comes to this car. It can literally help you avoid collisions and all these things. So those kind of things, they help a lot in this day and age with technology improving. Then I'm just bothered about something that I forgot to mention actually, because it only has like a lane departure warning when you're trying to like leave like the lane. It's only going to warn you. It's not going to steer you back in. I don't think it's a level 2 autonomous driving, so just be aware of that it's not going to steer for you. Unfortunately, it's only going to do like what is this, the braking and so on, but you still have to put your hands on the steering wheel. Let's now talk about competition though, because this is one car that I think a lot of people are not necessarily looking at it to be competing with the ones that are directly competing with it, which is like 7-seaters. I'm talking like the likes of Tiggo and Allspace. You know, I've recently driven the Mercedes GLB, which is also offered in 7-seat, and I've driven the new Kia Sorento actually, which is a 7-seater as well. Those are the ones that I think the people who are looking for 7-seaters, they will be looking at those cars and looking at this one. So I can't say much about the Tiggo and Allspace because I've never really driven that car. So the GLB and the Kia, you know, those two cars, if I put them like lined up here with this one, when you're looking at these cars, I'm pretty sure you're going to say, you know what, all of them are quite premium. And the GLB, let me start there. That car that I had, it was a 5-seater model, the one that I had. It was like packed with features as well. And the retail price, the one that I had, was around like 1.26 million. Then the Kia that I drove was around 914,000 rands. It's not necessarily a top spec because the top spec is 988 with all the bells and whistles and sunroofs and so on. So this particular one is at a price point where you're saying to yourself that, okay, how am I going to compare it to those other cars? Because I'm looking at getting this car and something else basically for the price of either of those cars. So when I'm looking at it that way, that's when then I can justify why someone would go for like a 5-seater. And in this case, we're talking about the neighbors, the Haval H6, of course. Rightfully, people have been asking, how does it fare compared to that one? And you know what? I think I'll just, at some point, make a video comparing the two side by side or something like that. I'll just see how I'm going to do it. But, you know, when it comes to this particular one, I think it's very close. Very, very close. Because when I'm thinking about the power figures of the H6, actually, they are not necessarily far off from this 1.6. Ne? But, let me say this. If I'm just thinking about it on top of my head right now, this car, when it comes to practicality, when it comes to the design, the exterior, in fact, let me touch on the exterior of this car before I even go far. Because this is, you know, the Haval H6 is looking great. And like, I like that car in the way that it's designed. But this car looks rather amazing. This car is gorgeous. I mean, looking at it from outside and it's coming like from the rear view mirror or you're just standing in front of it, I find it to be a very striking car. From the front, you know, the DRLs, like the way they're just like those double lines that are sweeping inside, going into the grille. There's simplicity. There's things that are done, but they're not too much. Like the grille, the big grille that is happening there, like these diamond things that are inside here, like the design-wise, the chrome that is happening, looking at going down to the bumper. You know, this vents on the side, you know, this chrome part on the bottom part of the bumper, it's like it's real vents that are working, is feeding into the tires so that obviously it can help you with cooling down the brakes and so on. Everything about the design, it looks like it was carefully thought of and carefully laid out so that it doesn't become too much. You know, the side profile of this car is where maybe I have a little bit of an issue, especially at the back, just at the end there. Like when I'm looking at it, it's like they extended it, and that's how I feel about like some cars that are like 7-seaters. They look like this. Look at the Tiguan, for example. It's like it's extended from the standard Tiguan. So that's just how I feel. But otherwise, it's not necessarily a bad thing entirely. Because looking at the side profile, they laid it out well. I mean, the 18-inch rims that are here, they work well. Especially because they realize that they can add some cladding. As much as it's like protecting the paint, it's also adding to some, you know, SUV look kind of a thing. The chrome bar that is just down there, this strip, it's just amazing. Going to the back, the tailpipes, looking at the LEDs, this is a well-designed car. That's why I'm saying, compared to the H6, looks for looks, this is going to take it. Of course, practicality-wise, I still think this car is going to win, of course, when it comes to practicality, because obviously it's a 7-seater and it has a massive boot on a 5-seater mode. But it almost ends there with me because the performance, the comfort, H6 is definitely going to take that one because it's just, As much as it's not far off on comfort, I'm pretty sure when it comes to performance though, it's something else, especially because this car is currently not offered with the all-wheel drive, and the H6 has an all-wheel drive, and it's amazing. It's punchy. That I call it a sleeper for what is expected of that car. It's wow. Yeah, so I think that's all I can say for now. And if I do another video on the two cars, I will put more considerations. Otherwise, I need to close on this car because this is what we're here for. Amazing vehicle. I can't believe they've put such an amazing package for less than 600,000, for less than 700,000 even. It's just so amazing, and I don't even see a reason why someone should not consider buying this car. I don't want to lie. It's such an amazing product that Chery has put through for us. And on that note, how can I not be grateful that you've been here with me like throughout the journey? I'm so grateful. Thank you very much for being with me, and I am out.